All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ashok IT. Myself, Ashok. So, from today, we are starting online training for Spring Boot with Microservices course. All right. As part of the today's session, I'm going to explain what are the prerequisites to attend this Boot Microservices and what we are going to cover as part of the Boot Microservices. The course agenda I'm going to explain as part of today's class. So if you confirm is my voice and my screen both are clear, then I will proceed further with the prerequisites of the course and course content also. Good. All right. Fine. So this is Spring Boot with microservices. First thing that I want to confirm, it is completely online training. It is completely online training. Right. Trainer, myself. My name is Ashok. I am having 8+ years of experience and currently I am working in USA banking company. Currently I am working in product-based company as a technical lead in the Agile methodology project. In my project also we are using this Spring Boot and microservices. All right. So Spring Boot with microservices online training, it is completely online training and trainer is myself. My name is Ashok. I am having 8+ years of experience as a Java developer and currently I am working in product-based company as a technical lead. Right. Now, so first let us try to understand what are the prerequisites to attend this course. What are the prerequisites to attend this course? The prerequisites to attend this course, first one is core Java. So you should have knowledge on the core Java. If you are currently doing core Java, then please don't come to this class. If you are already completed with the core Java, then only you are eligible to attend this Spring Boot with microservices training. Second one is advanced Java, like JDBC, servlets and JSP. JDBC, servlets and JSP. So if you know the basics of this JDBC, servlets and JSPs, then only you are eligible to attend this course. Then coming to frameworks. ORM basics like Hibernate, what is object relational mapping, and how to work with ORM frameworks like Hibernate to perform the card operations, how to bind our Java class to database table. So if you know the basics of that ORM, then you are eligible for this course. Then next one, coming to Spring Framework. So from the Spring Framework, Spring core module is sufficient. If you know what is IOC container, what is the dependency injection, if you know those concepts from Spring Framework, then you are eligible to attend this Spring Boot with microservices. Some people may ask a question, Ashok, do we need to know Spring MVC? No, if you don't know Spring MVC also, that's not a problem, because the complete Spring MVC I will explain as part of this course. The complete Spring MVC I'm going to explain as part of this course. So that's why if you have idea about Spring core module, then you are eligible to attend this. And the next one is SQL. So basics of the database knowledge, right? So basics of the database, like how to create a table, how to perform card operations, what is primary key, what is foreign key, how to write DML queries, right? What is a DDL, what is DML, how to perform card operations with the tables. If you have that knowledge, then that is sufficient. So only these are the prerequisites to attend our Boot with microservices online training. If you are good with these prerequisites, then only join for the boot microservices. Otherwise, it would be difficult for you to understand the concepts which I am going to explain with boot and microservices. All of you clear with this one? Prerequisites. All of you clear with the prerequisites, guys? Please confirm. All of you clear with the prerequisites? Are anyone having any confusion with the prerequisites? Does anybody has any confusion with the prerequisites, or you are clear with the prerequisites? Spring core module, only core. Just I will give the overview of the core module also again. I'm also going to explain you what is IOC container, what is dependency injection, what is auto wiring, right? What is bean life cycle, what is bean scope. Those things also I am going to cover. So the basics of the Spring core module I am going to explain, right? EJB knowledge is not required. EJB knowledge is not required, Mr. Sachin. Whatever I have listed down in this notepad, only these are prerequisites, nothing else is required. Okay, so if you want to join for this course, if you are good with these prerequisites, then only join. Otherwise, it would be difficult for you to understand the concepts. It would be difficult for you to understand the concepts. Right. Next, coming to course content. Coming to course content, what you will learn from this course, what you are going to learn from this course. So in this course, first I will start with Spring core module introduction. Spring core module introduction. Here I'm going to explain what is IOC, what is dependency injection, what is IOC container, and what is dependency injection, what is auto wiring, what is auto wiring, bean life cycle. Bean life cycle I'm going to explain as part of this introduction. Once it is done, then we will start with Spring Boot. Spring Boot. As part of the Spring Boot, we are going to compare Spring Framework with Spring Boot. So what are the differences between Spring Framework and Spring Boot? We are going to understand Spring versus Spring Boot. The comparison we are going to see Spring versus Spring Boot. Then Spring Boot advantages. Spring Boot advantages we are going to learn. Then we'll talk about Spring Boot starter forms. Spring Boot starter forms. Spring Boot application creation. Spring Boot application creation. So here I will explain you initializer website, how to create a project by using initializer website, and how to create the project by using IDE. After this, we'll talk about what is Spring application annotation, what is @Spring application annotation. Then we'll talk about what is component scanning, what is component scanning, what is auto configuration, what is auto configuration in Spring Boot, and Spring application.run method. Spring application.run method, how Spring Boot application will get started with this run method, we'll understand. Then we will talk about banner in Spring Boot, banner in Spring Boot, and then we'll talk about runners in Spring Boot, runners in Spring Boot. So two types of runners it is going to support. One is application runner, another one is command line runner. Application runner and command line runners we are going to work with this. So from the boot introduction part, from the Spring Boot, I'm going to cover all these concepts. So before going to start with the Spring Boot, so I will just revise the core module concepts which are required to understand the boot concepts. That is, what is IOC container, what is the dependency injection, what is auto wiring, what is bean lifecycle. So those concepts also we are going to learn. After completion of this only, then we will start with our boot concepts. What is a Spring? What is a Spring Boot? Why people are going with the Spring Boot nowadays? Why this much demand is there for the Spring Boot in the market? What are the starter forms in the Spring Boot? And how to create our first application by using Spring Boot with an initializer website and by using IDE. Both approaches I am going to cover. Then we will talk about internals of our application. What is @Spring application annotation? What is @component scanning in the Spring Boot? And what is auto configuration? And what is application or run method? So if you understand these four concepts, then that means 30% of the Spring Boot you know. The basic, very fundamental concepts of the Spring Boot is only these four. What is @Spring Boot? What is Spring Boot application annotation? Spring Boot application annotation. Then what is component scanning? What is component scanning? Spring application, Spring Boot application. What is component scanning? What is auto configuration? What is run method? If you for just to understand these concepts, we are going to spend almost 8 to 10 days of time. So if you understand this, then only you will get the clarity on the Spring Boot. If without knowing these four concepts, it would be very difficult to develop the applications by using Spring Boot. After that, banner, how to work with banner in the Spring Boot, then working with runners in the Spring Boot. So with this, our boot introduction will be completed. This is part 1. Part 1 includes core module introduction and Spring Boot introduction also will be understood. Very strong basics related to Spring Boot we are going to learn. Lot of internals of the Spring Boot we are going to learn as part of part 1 of our course. Then coming to part 2 of our course, here we are going to learn Spring Data JPA. Here we are going to learn Spring Data JPA as part of part 2 in our course. So before proceeding to the part 2 concepts, are you guys clear with what we will learn as part of the part 1? In the part 1, Spring Core Module. In this core module, we will learn what is IOC, what is the dependency injection, what is auto wiring, what is bean lifecycle, the just basics of the Spring, fundamental concepts of the Spring framework we are going to learn. This is part 1 in our course. So without understanding the part 1, you can't attend this course. This is very important. Lot of basics we are going to learn. Very solid introduction I am going to give related to Spring Core Module and Spring Boot. So as part of this part 1, we will understand all these concepts. Does anybody has any questions related to this? Anybody has any questions, please type in the chat box. At the end of the session, you can talk with me. I will give 10 minutes of time to clarify all your doubts. So if you have any questions now, you can give those questions to me in the chat box. If you don't have any questions, then I will proceed further and I will list down the concepts from part 2. Right. Duration and all I will talk in at the end of the session, guys. First, so are you clear with this part 1? Or do you want me, all of you, most of the people are working, so you have the basic idea. So what is the Spring Boot and all, right? So this will be covered as part of part 1. Right. Now, coming to second part, data JPA. Here, I will give knowledge related to persistent layer, and best practices for persistent layer, differences between Hibernate and data JPA, Then we will talk about Spring Data JPA repositories. We are going to understand, like here we have 2 repositories. One is CRUD repository. Another one is data JPA, sorry, that is JPA repository. So we are going to learn here. After that, card operations using data JPA, pagination and sorting. How to implement pagination and sorting in our applications. After this, we will talk about generators, custom generator, how to work with custom generator in our application. We are going to learn this. Persistent layer. What is persistent layer? What is the importance of the persistent layer? We will learn. And what are the best practices we need to follow while developing persistent layer? Differences between Hibernate and data JPA, then Spring data JPA repositories, and I will talk about what is entity, and annotations to map our Java class with entity, card operations using data JPA, pagination and sorting, generators, and custom generators we are going to understand. And here I'm going to explain you application.properties file and application.yml file. Application.properties file and application.yml file for resources configuration in the Spring Boot. Then I will talk about profiles in Spring Boot. How to work with the profiles in the Spring Boot, we are going to understand in the data JPA. So here generators we will talk, and custom generators also we are going to talk. We will develop applications with Oracle DB integration, MySQL DB integration, Oracle database and MySQL database, H2 database, which is embedded database integration, and MongoDB integration. So we are going to work with 4 different databases for developing our persistent layer. Some examples we will develop with Oracle database, some examples with MySQL database, some examples with the embedded database like H2. H2 is one of the famous embedded database. Then how to integrate MongoDB with our Spring Boot application. Those things also we are going to learn as part of data JPA. So this is part 2 of our course. So in the part 2, we are going to understand all these concepts. Right. So complete the persistent layer development using data JPA we are going to learn. So I'm not missing anything here. Just look at this. Persistent layer, best practices for persistent layer, differences between Hibernate and data JPA. So JPA repositories like CRUD repository and JPA repository, entity class with annotations. I'm not going to use any XML. Complete annotations I'm going to use for throughout the course. Card operations using data JPA, pagination and sorting, generators, and how to work with custom generators, application and properties file and application and YML file, profiles in the Spring Boot, Oracle database, examples with Oracle database, examples with MySQL database, examples with the embedded database, and MongoDB integration. Also, we are going to learn as part of part 2 in our course, that is data JPA. Next one. Once this part 2 is completed, the very important thing, that is part 3. As part of the part 3, I am going to explain Spring MVC, Spring Web MVC. The complete Spring Web MVC we are going to learn here. Spring MVC, MVC introduction, what is MVC design pattern, then Spring MVC introduction, Spring MVC architecture, we'll talk about dispatcher servlet, we will talk about handler mapper, we'll talk about controller, handler mappers, controllers, we'll talk about view resolvers. View resolvers we are going to learn. Next one, we'll talk about Spring form tag library, then form-based applications. I'm going to develop 3 form-based applications. I'm going to develop here. Form-based applications, 3 types of different forms we are going to develop. So JSP front-end, form application with JSP, form app with JSP front-end, form app with Timeleaf as front-end, with the timely front end also, we are going to develop our applications. Then form validations we are going to learn. Then we'll talk about what is modal attribute, what is modal attribute, modal attribute, request body, response body. What is request body? What is response body? Then I will introduce you to Spring Boot actuators. So because actuator is a Web MVC component, that's why I'm going to talk about the actuators in the Spring Web MVC concept. That is a part 3 of our course. Actuators I cannot explain you here because in these concepts like core or boot introduction or JPA, web concept will not be available. So when the Web MVC started, then I'm going to tell you boot actuators. So if you know these concepts, then you are good. Right? So along with this, if you required, I can explain you what is interceptor in Spring MVC. How to work with interceptor in the Spring MVC also, we are going to learn here. Interceptors in the Spring MVC and boot actuators also we are going to learn. So this is very important. In the complete Spring framework, MVC module is having a lot of demand to develop web applications. So MVC introduction, Spring MVC introduction, Spring MVC architecture, what is dispatcher servlet, which is also called as front controller for us, Then we'll talk about handler mappers. Then we'll talk about controllers. We'll talk about view resolvers. Then we'll talk about request mappings. We'll talk about form tag library, form-based applications, form application with the JSP front end, form application with the timely front end, form validations, modal object, modal attribute, request body, response body, interceptors, boot actuators. So these things will be covered from Spring Web MVC module. This is part 3 of our course. This is part 3 of our course. All of you good with this? Right. Then very important thing, exception handling using Spring AOP approach. I will teach what is the basic of the Spring AOP and how to handle Spring MVC exceptions by using Spring AOP based approach, that is throws advice. So by using that concept, we are going to handle the exceptions of our web application. That concept also will be covered. A lot of things will be explained to you related to exception handling in the Spring Web MVC applications. Good. Part 3, are you clear? Are you comfortable with part 3? Complete MVC is covering, guys. Complete MVC we are covering. You no need to attend MVC separately outside. You no need to attend the Spring MVC separately outside. So this is a sufficient. This is complete Spring MVC. We are covering all the concepts of the Spring MVC. We are learning here. Next one, another very important part of our course, that is part 4. Part 4, RESTful services. RESTful services. Without knowing this part 4, you cannot develop microservices. So nowadays, microservices having a lot of demand in the market. So if you want to work with microservices, first you should know RESTful services, right? So here we'll talk about distributed applications, distributed technologies which are available in the market, right? Then we'll talk about SOAP versus REST introduction, REST architecture, REST principles, REST architecture, REST principles, then REST application development, internals of REST application, first application will create. Then we'll talk about HTTP protocol, HTTP request structure, HTTP request structure, then HTTP response structure, HTTP request structure, HTTP response structure, HTTP status codes, HTTP status messages, HTTP status codes, HTTP status messages. We'll learn as part of the part 4. Then get, post, put, delete, get, post, put, delete. Then we'll talk about JSON with Jackson, XML with JAXB. How to work with JSON data, how to work with XML data, what is the Jackson API, what is the JAXB API, we will learn. After that, we are going to be with this. With this, we will be clear with how to develop a REST API. That means how to develop a microservice by using Spring Framework. You will get the complete clarity related to that, because we will understand what is distributed application, what are the distributed technologies are available, SOAP versus REST, REST introduction, REST architecture, REST principles, REST application development, using Spring with REST. Using Spring with REST, we are going to learn that. Internals of REST application, how REST request will be processed by a REST API, HTTP protocol, HTTP status codes, HTTP status messages, get request, port request, put request, delete request, how to deal with JSON data in the REST API by using Jackson, internals of Jackson API, how to deal with XML data in the REST API with respect to JAXB, we are going to learn. So with this you will be clear with REST API development. Then here we will talk about Swagger UI, Swagger UI, Postman, tools for testing REST API, exception handling in REST API. Exception handling in REST API. So how to use the Swagger for generating a documentation, and what is the Swagger UI, and what is Postman, and how to handle exceptions in the REST API, we will learn here. After that, we'll start with REST client introduction, how to develop a REST client, then java.net client, Apache HTTP client, REST template, web client. Web client supports for reactive programming, which is Spring 5.x version future. Spring 5.x. And I will talk about mono objects and flux objects. What is mono and what is flux? Asynchronous communication, asynchronous programming, asynchronous communications, we are going to talk about it. Mono objects, flux objects, asynchronous communications, we are going to talk here in the REST API development. The complete RESTful services we are going to discuss as part of our training. So you no need to learn the RESTful services separately if you are attending my boot on microservices, because without teaching you the RESTful services concepts, I can't teach you the microservices. Because if you want to develop a microservice, first of all, you should be clear with all these concepts. So this is part 4 of our course. This is part 4 of our course. Just look at this part 4. Complete REST API we are going to learn. Complete REST API you are going to learn. Good. Next one. Very important, very exciting concept that you people are waiting. Part 5, which is microservices. Part 5, which is microservices. Right. As part of microservices, we will talk about monolith architecture, drawbacks of monolith, microservices introduction. I mean, here I am going to explain you one more concept called load balancers, load balancer algorithms, what is load balancer, and what are the algorithms will be used for the load balancing, like sticky session, IP hashing, round robin, etc. Like that, there are several algorithms will be used when we are setting up load balancer for our application, right? So after that, we'll talk about microservice introduction, microservice introduction, microservices challenges, microservices advantages, microservices challenges, microservices advantages, microservices architecture, service registry. Service registry I will explain with the help of Eureka server. Then I will explain API gateway to Joule proxy. API gateway with the Joule. API gateway with the Joule proxy. After understanding two microservices development, then inter-service communication using fee and client. I'm going to teach you how one microservice can communicate with another microservice by using fee and client. That is called inter-service communication. After completion of this microservices development and inter-service communication, then I'm going to introduce you to cloud platforms. What are the cloud platforms are available in the market and what are famous cloud platforms? Then I will talk about PCF cloud, PCF account creation, and PCF CLI, microservice deployment into cloud, Then I will talk about scaling, how to scale our microservices. So we'll talk about horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. Then I will talk about auto scaling here. So this is complete cloud concepts. What is cloud platform and how to deploy our applications to cloud platform, we are going to understand here. Then I will talk about Spring Boot admin and client. What is Spring Boot admin and Spring Boot client, and what is a circuit breaker, which is called as Hystrix, that we are going to understand. Circuit breaker, Hystrix we will learn. Then distributed log tracing by using Slate and Zipkin. We will learn about it. Boot admin client, circuit breaker, distributed log tracing by using Slate and Zipkin. The next one, we'll talk about Apache Kafka, and we'll talk about Redis cache, and we'll learn about Docker, and we'll learn about Jenkins. Apache Kafka, Redis cache, Docker, Jenkins, and also I'm going to explain as part of our microservices. So see the part 5, monolith architecture, drawbacks of the monolith, load balancer algorithms, sticky session, IP hashing, round robin methodology. Microservices introduction, microservices challenges, microservices advantages, microservices architecture, what is service registry, what is API gateway. Then two microservices we will develop and we will establish inter-service communication also by using fee and client. And I will give you Angular 10 integration here. So that means UI will develop separately by using Angular 10, and two microservices will be available. From UI, we will call one microservice, that microservice will call the other microservice. The complete end-to-end microservice architecture with the front end I am going to show you. For the front end, I am going to use Angular 10. Right now. So after with this, you will get the complete clarity how microservices will be developed in the project. Then how to deploy the microservices, how to scale our microservices. For that, I am going to use these cloud platforms. Here I will use PCF cloud platform. If you want, I can show you how to deploy our microservice to AWS also, Amazon Web Services. That depends on your interest. If you want to know that, I can teach you that as well. Then boot admin client we are going to learn. For actuators, already we know actuators. To simplify that actuators usage, we are going to use boot admin and client. Boot admin and client. Then circuit breaker with the historics and distributed log tracing using Slate and Jupyter. Along with this, we will learn about Apache Kafka in our project and Redis cache in our project development, Dockerizing our Spring Boot applications, and achieving CI/CD for our boot projects by using Jenkins. So these things are hot cake in the market. These are very, very, very important. So as a boot developer, you should know these things. That's mandatory. So I'm going to cover these concepts also as part of this course. All of you clear with this? Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and part 5. Complete RESTful services, complete MVC, complete data JPA, complete boot you are going to learn. Nowhere you will get this much content when you attend boot microservices. When you attend the boot microservices, those people will not cover you this much content. And another advantage is here, this is the best opportunity for you to attend the boot microservices with me. The reason is currently I am working in the industry and I am developing my project based on microservices with all these concepts. So currently I am working in the industry, so I know how the updates are happening and what we are developing, what are the situations we are facing and what are the problems we are facing in the microservices development. My company experience I am going to share with you as part of these classes. So every application that I will develop with a real-time use case and every concept I will explain how I am using in my project. So this facility you don't get anywhere in the market because the people who are teaching, they are only teaching. They are not working. They are disconnected with the industry. They are working as full-time. But here, my training is my part-time. My full-time is job. I am working in the USA-based banking company as a technical lead. So I am also working with the Spring Boot microservices as part of my project. So I can give the best real-time use cases for all the concepts which I have listed down here. And the complete rest I am covering and microservices, JPA, MVC, boot, everything. So this is the agenda of our course. This is the agenda of our course, right? Now, coming to other details of this course, the duration of this course, it is going to take 90 days of time, guys. It is going to take 90 days of time because our content is vast. Our content is vast. So if I skip that rest, I can complete within 2 months only because the rest itself is going to take 1 month of time. So if you don't understand the RESTful services, you can't understand the microservices. That's why I'm giving a lot of importance to the RESTful services here. If you know the REST, then only you will be understanding the microservices. So the duration of this REST API, 1 month it is going to take. So that's why the total duration is becoming 90 days of time. Timings. So daily, the class will start at 8:45 a.m. IST to 9:45 a.m. IST. Daily 1 hour class will be available. 8:45 a.m. IST to 9:45 a.m. IST, the class will be available. Right? Mode. Online Zoom sessions. Online Zoom sessions we are going to take, and the fee for this course we are going to take 5,000 rupees only. 5,000 rupees only we are going to take for this course, and the duration of this course is 90 days. Timings 8:45 a.m. IST to 9:45 a.m. IST, daily 1 hour. Initially, slowly we will increase this to 1.5 hours. So first 20 days it will be 1 hour. After that, the course is going to be 1.5 hours, right? And it will be from Monday to Saturday. The course will be available from Monday to Saturday. So the class will be available from Monday to Saturday. Monday to Saturday class will be available. It is a daily session, daily 1 hour initially. So slowly we will increase the duration to 1.5 hours, and course is completely online through Zoom, and the fees we are going to charge 5,000 for this. All of you clear with this one? Right. And note, daily class notes will be shared. Daily class notes will be shared in email. So today, if the class is complete, today I have written this notepad file. This notepad file I will send to your email IDs. So once your enrollment process is completed, we are going to share this data to your email IDs. Right? We will finalize the admissions within 2 days or 3 days of time. After 2-3 days of time, then you can share. I will share these details to your mail ID. So today's class you can watch once again in the YouTube also. Our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. My YouTube channel name is Ashok IT. So some Java related videos are available in that, and my Facebook group name is also Ashok IT. My Facebook group name is also Ashok IT. My WhatsApp number 63019211083, and my website, my personal website, that is www.ashokit.in. So you can connect with me. So you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Ashok IT. My Facebook group name is also Ashok IT. My WhatsApp number is this. If you have any questions personally, you can send me the message. And this website, I have this website, www.ashokit.in. Right? Yeah. So you can attend 2 to 3 demo classes. 2 to 3 demo classes you can attend. After that, you can decide whether you want to enroll for this course or not. 3 classes I will provide you for free of cost. Free access will be available for 3 classes. After that, you need to enroll for this course by taking the admission. To take the admission, we will let you know the procedure 3rd day. So once you attend the 3 days, then we will update you how you need to take the admission for this course. So every day, these 3 classes will be available in the live. You can watch them once again in the YouTube. Once the admissions are finalized, these 3 class notes also I will share to your personal email IDs. I will share these notes with your to you with personally through emails. Once the admissions are finalized, we will provide you the details where you can download our class notes. Daily class notes will be provided after the session is completed. Right. Some of the videos will be uploaded to YouTube channel also. You can watch them. You can connect. If you have any questions during the course, whenever you are practicing, you can post your question to my Facebook group. Almost we have 7,000 members in our group. All those are my previous batch students. And this is my personal WhatsApp number. This is my website. Right. And this is our course content. So once again, you can go through the content in the YouTube video. Today's class also will be available in the live session as a live stream. You can watch that video again to get more clarity. I will share this document after 2 days of time. Once finalize the admissions, then I will take your mail IDs. Then I will give you class notes for that. So from tomorrow, our regular classes are going to begin. Only today I explained you what are the prerequisites to attend this course and what is our course content. Right. So definitely I will make you as a boot microservices developer with Angular as a front end. You don't need to worry. So this content you don't get anywhere in the market. We are the best and we are the well known in the market for boot microservices online training with real-time approach. So every concept will be explained to you with the real-time standards, real-time environment, real-time use cases you are going to get from here. So you can't compare this content with anybody. So they can't provide you this much content as part of boot microservices. So that's why we are unique in the market for boot and microservices. All right. Now, so security, some people are asking, yes, Spring security, I will explain how to secure our REST APIs. Security also will be covered. What security I'm going to explain. So let me add here security, how to secure our applications. Security I will explain with WAUth 2.0. WAUth 2.0 I'm going to explain. WAUth 2.0 security I'm going to explain. Right. Unit testing by using JUnit. Unit testing with JUnit and mocking. That also will be covered. How to perform unit testing for our REST API based applications for microservices we will explain with the help of JUnit and Mockito. With JUnit and Mockito. Yes, source code I'm going to share once the classes are completed. Along with the class notes, whatever the application I will develop, right? That application also I'm going to share with you in the email.